Again, everybody, we made it. We are live on Touching Greatness, 50 plus years celebrating everything. And today it's music. And, you know, I think the bass is the foundation of songs. And we have the king of the bass line, Lee Sklar. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, Ted, man, I am so thrilled to be here. I've been waiting my entire career for this moment, I'll tell you.
Really? And that was what, the last week?
Yeah, that was last week. I got to go now. Bye.
Good to see you, sir.
Oh, it's great to see you too. I'm really looking forward to our hang.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Let's have the correct open to this show, okay?
This is Robbie Krieger from The Doors, and you are watching Touching Greatness with Ted Sobel.
You worked with Robbie Krieger in The Doors, didn't you?
Yeah, I absolutely did. I did the album. I think it was called Full Circle or Full Moon, something like that. It was the album they did after Jim Morrison passed away.
Right.
And,
yeah, I think if I read correct, you did two of their albums. I think their last two, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been. You know, you tend to lose track after time, but it was so much fun to be in there with Ray and Robbie and John. Because I remember seeing them, you know, back in the heyday of the Sunset Strip, you know, with at the Doors, you know, playing, and I'm still fanboy. So when I walk in the studio and see these people, I kind of, a part of me goes way back to, just to going, wow, I remember sitting there watching them at the Experience or Gazzari's or one of those old clubs.
Oh, yeah, everything on the Strip there.
Yeah, absolutely.
First of all, congratulations. You are a 2026 new member of the Musicians Hall of Fame, sir, and it's about damn time.
It's still, you know, caught me off guard on this. You're not used to accolades, and it was really sweet of them. They've been trying to get me to be involved with them for a long time, and it never worked out. And they finally just said, "No, we're inducting you. You're in. Don't have nothing to say about this." And I'll be with Dolly Parton and Vince Gill and a whole bunch of people. Dan Huff,
Michael McDonald, I saw too.
Michael McDonald on that.
Yeah.
I think, are they doing? Oh God.
That's in April, right? That there's like
it's like the 28th or something like that.
Okay.
The very end of April.
Okay.
Back in Nashville. It'll be in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because they have the Country Music Hall of Fame and all that stuff. This is the Musicians Hall of Fame. So it isn't dedicated to country music. It's dedicated to music, but it still comes out of Nashville.
Right. I think it's more of a real Hall of Fame because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has so many people that aren't in rock. It's not even funny. So it makes no sense.
It's gotten so weird over the years with that stuff. I mean, the only one that ever, up to this point, that really meant something to me was I got involved in music because of Liberace.
Yeah.
My parents.
Another Milwaukee guy.
Well, he's a Milwaukee guy, and he's also in the Wisconsin Musicians Hall of Fame. Good. And I was inducted into it too.
Awesome.
So I mean, I started doing what I do because of Liberace, and now I'm in the same situation with him. So that to me was kind of fun, just because of this enormous circle that took place.
I don't see the sequins dress or the jacket wearing anything like Liberace.
You know, I had it there. Oh, it's at the cleaners.
In the other room. It's been in the cleaners for about 60 years.
Yeah, absolutely. They're still sewing back on the sequins.
That's great. Well, you know what? Before we get into our long chat, which is what I'm really looking forward to, I want everybody to be introduced to what I'm calling A Taste of Honey. Remember the old cover song by the Beatles?
Absolutely.
Yes. The Sklar Songbook.
Ooh.
Just a little collage to open things up so everybody knows the damn good bass line that this guy gives every single song. Sir, sit back for a couple of minutes and enjoy this, okay? Wow.
Woo!
One of my favorite songs ever.
Doctor, my eyes eyes have seen the years and the slow parade of fears without crying. Now I want to understand. Doctor, my eyes, tell me what is wrong, 'cause I'm wise to leave them open for so long.
Next, my favorite, right here. Beautiful.
No one can tell me that I'm doing wrong today. Whenever I see you smile at me, no one can tell me that I'm doing wrong today. Whenever I see your smiling face my way, no one can tell me that I'm doing wrong today. Meet you all the way.
Finger's gotta be exhausted. Bowie, baby.
Take to the highway, won't you lend me your name? Your way and my way, they seem to be one and the same. Mama don't understand it.
Almost done.
She wants to know where I've been. I have to be some kind of not so born fool to pass that way again. But you know I could feel it.
Great riff.
Walking on a country road. Whoa, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. Seen sunny days that I thought would never
James at his
end.
best.
I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again.
How good is that, sir?
Wow. I mean, it always kind of blows my mind because I'm the kind of person that I think about today and tomorrow. I don't think about yesterday.
Yeah.
And so when you're kind of presented with it, it's really enjoyable because I feel so blessed to have spent my entire life in this business with the incredible people I've had the great joy of working with over these years. And I'm still, at the end of the day, I'm still fanboy. And I pinch myself going, God, I got to work with so-and-so. And
Exactly.
I still walk in the studio and, it could be anybody from, from the days from like Streisand to Joe Cocker to Andy Griffith, you name it. And I would walk in and I would just kind of stop for a minute and want to take it all in. Because how did I get here? Why me? Kind of situation.
Why you? Because you're damn good. That's why you.
Yeah, but I live in my own skin and I know my own inadequacies and anxieties and stuff. So,
but are you like one of the lines I use in my book more than a few times, and that I use all the time for decades, is life is timing. And I think you might consider yourself to be the life is timing poster child.
It really is kind of the case because it was a situation of almost like a perfect storm that got everything going for me. And I'll give you a brief Cliff Notes synopsis of how it all started. I was always in bands. I mean, all through the 60s. I was sometimes in 5 bands at a time, but never thinking I was going to have a career in music. I mean, I was still a punk kid at that point. But in the late 68, 69, I was in a band called Wolfgang. There I am. I am the drum major at Birmingham High School.
Yes, I called a few of your football and basketball games there long after you graduated.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. I graduated in 65.
Okay.
From high school. I still have that baton.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
That's great.
And I still know how to do it.
Okay. By the way, that might be actually good exercise for your fingers, right?
Everything is exercise.
That's true.
At this point, keep moving.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, to me, that's the way I look at it. Even when I'm not working, I sit up here. I'm in the room where I've got a little amp here and stuff, and headphones and shit. And I still play all the time just to keep things ambulatory. So I was in this band Wolfgang in the late 60s. And it was still one of the best bands I've ever been in my life. I love those guys so much. And a few of them have passed, but some of the guys are still around and we're still in touch. But we had a drummer who's no longer with us, but his name was Warren Pemberton. That's the section there. No, that's the section, not Wolfgang.
Oh, it says Wolfgang. Okay, I'm sorry.
I know it says it, but no, that's Russ Kunkel, Danny Korchmar.
Yes, it is actually.
Yeah.
That'll teach me to take things offline, right?
The offline is like the worst place to go for anything.
I try.
So the drummer, his nickname was Bugs Pemberton.
Sure.
And he was English, and he had been in with Jackie Lomax and the Undertakers in England, who were rivals of the Beatles back in the 60s.
Nice.
And he had a friend named John Fishbeck who owned Crystal Recording Studios on Vine Street and Santa Monica Boulevard. In Hollywood, and John was an amazing engineer, and he also was a producer, and he did all the early Stevie Wonder's records, songs in the key of life and stuff like that. Well, he would come and hang out at our rehearsals. We had a house we rented out in Sunland, California, and he would hang out at the rehearsals with us just because he was a friend of the band. Yeah. And at one of those rehearsals, he brought a friend of his, a childhood friend who had just gotten back from England, and it was James Taylor.
Wow.
And James had done his Apple record, and it kind of tanked. It really didn't do anything. And he had come back here to LA and cut James Taylor, his first Warner Brothers album.
Yeah.
And so we met, at the rehearsal, and he hung out for a day, and it was great. Well, apparently he called Peter Asher, who was managing him and producing him from Peter and Gordon days, from the English Invasion.
Sure.
There we are at the BBC.
Yeah.
That was a show we did in 71, I think, 70 or 71, back in the brown hair days. And he he had an opportunity to play the Troubadour here in Hollywood. Yep. And because right behind James in that picture is Carole King on piano. Yes. And so the band that they had done the album was, try not to move this chair too much, it's squeaking away. It was Carole King on piano and Danny Korchmar on guitar and Russ Kunkel on drums, but they didn't have a bass player. And James, after that rehearsal, called Peter Asher, and sweet enough, he said, "I found the bass player of my dreams." And they tracked me down and they said, "Can you do this gig at the Troubadour?" Awesome. And I said, yeah, I was still going to Cal State Northridge or San Fernando Valley State College at the time. Yes. And I was an art science co-majors up there. And I was in my 5th year of college at that point. And I said, sure, I'd love to go play with you. So we did a little rehearsal and went and played there. The next thing you know, James was on the cover of Time magazine as the new face in music. There's James and Carole. That's so great.
I love that.
And they said, look, we got a month tour. Can you do it? And it was right during finals. Right. And I kind of just, balanced it out. And I thought, I never anticipated I would have a career in music, but this seemed like a nice opportunity. So I just didn't go to school. I just bailed, didn't take my finals, didn't tell anybody. And we hit the road. And the next thing you know, it turned into the rest of my life.
Wow.
I mean, it's fascinating how these things happen, because had I not been in that band,
yes,
had Bugs not known John, who knew James. James had just come back, and he was based in the East Coast, but he came out to LA. All these things were floating around and suddenly came together. And
you might still be an usher at the Hollywood Bowl.
Well, anything can happen. I mean, that's the whole thing with life is you come to these little crossroads, and it isn't necessarily, I mean, you can look back at it and go, God, I wish I would have mustered up money. I could have bought a 427 Cobra for $9,000 back when they first came out, which was a fortune then, but now it'd be $1 million. Or you look at what houses were costing back then. Exactly. There's so many things you can look back and go, God, I should have, I could have, I should have, would have. But it turned out to be, one of these things. It was fortunate because opportunities can come along, but if you don't have the goods, you can't act on it, or you might get one shot at it and then they go, sorry, that didn't work out. It all clicked. Everybody clicked together. The first time I sat down to play with Russ Kunkel, it was like we'd been together our whole lives.
Wow.
From the first note. And Cooch, I loved Cooch, and Carole I was aware of because of her songwriting, because she had been a massive songwriting star with Jerry Goffin, her husband. When she was a teenager, she was like 16 and writing stuff like The Locomotion and
exactly
all those songs. But nobody knew who Carole King was. They knew Goffin and King as songwriters. It could have been two men who knew. And when we were playing the Troubadour, at one point, James said, Carole's written some great songs, everybody. Here, Carole, play a couple of your tunes. And the place went berserk over it. And the next thing you know, Carole's in the studio cutting Tapestry, which is still one of the greatest albums in history. I wish I could have played on it, but she was married to Charlie Larkey, who was her bass player. And so needless to say, I got kind of axed out of that, but that's cool. I'm always grateful to see everybody working. Do you
remember the little teenager who used to hang with Carole King, who ended up writing a couple of her big songs on Tapestry? She was a poet. And I know Artie Podell, when I had him on the show with Barry McGuire, they talked about her, and I can't think of her name right now.
I'm trying to remember now. I'm blanking on it. But
and she went from just being a poet in school, basically, and a hanger-on to like well off the rest of her life because of that one album.
Oh yeah, I mean, there was a guy in Nashville who was living in his car, I think, and then he wrote. High Friends in Low Places, and Garth Brooks cut it, and the guy was driving a Rolls Royce.
Well, he was living in it, but he was driving
it. But it was a hell of a lot nicer car. The back seat was bigger. It's amazing how people's lives can change. It's just like that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So to talk about, we both had similar starts with a piano beginning. Now, mine lasted about less than a year, and yours lasted long enough until you got a little, I guess, one of your teachers said, "Hey, wait a minute, can you play the bass? Because we need that, right?"
Yeah. What happened was I started on piano.
Here's my book. Does that look familiar, by the way? Did you have the same book?
Oh God, yes, absolutely. I think I've probably I saved all that stuff. I've got all my. There's a box somewhere with all that stuff, playing like Bucky Beaver and all these songs that you can just plunking them out. But at 5, when I started because we had a piano in the house that was like a family piece of furniture. My mom played a little bit, but there wasn't. My dad played a little saxophone, just enough to make me cry and and annoy us. So I when I started playing piano, I had an affinity for it. I just really fell in love with it. And by the time I was 8, I think, I had met Eugene Normandy, who was the conductor of the Philadelphia Orchestra, and I had won some awards from the Hollywood Bowl Association. But I was I was a classical trained. I mean, there was only classic. And it was a thing where I think my piano teacher was trying to live out her lack of piano success through me. And so I was doing all these recitals all the time and constantly working at it. And by the time I was 12, I was pretty burned out. I was seeing a shrink because I was really under a lot of stress. And it's difficult when the piano teacher's telling your parents, "Oh, he's brilliant, this, blah, blah, blah." And they're sort of going, "Well, let's see how far this can go." And then I finally changed teachers, and I had two teachers following her. That one of them, Ernest Hughes. God, I haven't thought of these people in so long. Ernest Hughes was a major studio pianist in Los Angeles. The youngest student he'd ever had before me was 25 years old. Wow. So he was used to dealing with adults. So he had an attitude and a temper. And like when my mom came to pick me up from my thing, so I was beat red from crying the whole time.
Wow.
So that was bad. And then another guy named Charles Amato, who was really a fine pianist, but not a great teacher. I finally ended up with a woman named Debbie Green. And if I would have started with Debbie, I might have always stayed with piano.
Interesting.
The part of that that's weird is many, many years later, I'm in the studio working. One of my favorite drummers I used to work with was Ed Green, who did all the Motown stuff and all this. And he lives in Nashville now. But we were talking about our upbringing one day, and I said, yeah, I had this great piano teacher, Debbie Green. And he goes, well, that was my mom. And he was probably, and we're about the same age. So he was probably in the house when I was in her converted garage taking my piano lessons. But when I went into junior high school, I kind of went in with like, your piano player is here, because I had all these accolades and all this crap. Right. And Ted Lynn, who was the music teacher at Birmingham, said, look, we got a lot of kids that play piano, but we need a string bass player. And They had an old K upright in the back room, and he took it out and showed me how to hold it and how to play. I plucked a note and I felt the vibrations of it. And I went, I like this. Let's go. And he gave me some lessons. And then I ended up with a teacher named Thurman Teague out here in Reseda. Worked with him for a while. And then I ended up with a teacher named Nat Gangursky, who was a major upright player in the studio scene in the orchestral situation in town, and had like major students of his that were like all pro level guys. So I studied with him a few years, and then things just got not weird, but when I started working in the studio, I went from the only studio experience I had was when we cut demos with Wolfgang, and that was one day in the studio. That was my entire studio experience. Then when James happened, we became first call guys in town, and we're doing 3 to 4 sessions a day, every day. So and nobody was looking for a doubler, which means you play electric and acoustic. Okay. And nobody was calling for acoustic bass. So my chops kind of went down with that. So my upright playing really diminished. I mean, I could still play, but not at the level I would want to be. Right. And so, because everything I was getting called for was electric. And so at this point in my life, that's one of my only real regrets, is that I didn't somehow make my schedule work where I could have sustained my upright playing, because I loved upright. I just, at this point, to go back and try to play is like, it's only for my own pleasure. And I know, like there's a bass player in town, Mike Valerio, who kind of took over the first seat for most of the upright playing in town, or Chuck Berghofer. When people call me and say, can you play this? I go, call this guy. Right. You'll be happy with them. I could fake it, but they're the real deal.
Right. That early stuff with James, was that in the studio? Was that all in LA?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. James, we cut, well,
I know he cut a couple of his early albums in England, right?
Well, his first one, the Apple album, was in England, and after that, and I think then when we did, it was must have been either One Man Dog or Mudslide Slim. We cut in his house on Martha's Vineyard. Oh, that was being built at the time, and we ended up having them truck in a machine and a console from New York, and set it up in the house. And Jock McLean and Peter Asher ended up engineering there. I mean, everybody, it was like guerrilla warfare in those early days. So nobody really kind of knew what they were doing. So it was, every day was an adventure. Right. With it. You didn't go in there with like preconceived ideas. We did so many crazy things. There was one song that James did on that album where he wanted to have the sound of a chainsaw on it. So they dragged a mic out into the middle of the woods on Martha's Vineyard, and he's out there, and Craig Durgee's playing keyboards, and James had probably the longest headphone cord ever made. And he's out there with his chainsaw, and Craig is sitting in the studio playing him a note on the piano because he wanted it to be that note. And we're looking out the window and we're recording this, and all we hear is him winding up that chainsaw till it hits, was it E or something? And he's holding it so they could record it. And the next thing he hears, bam, and smoke pouring out. He blew the chainsaw off. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that would never happen nowadays. You know, it was just like everybody was like just going, let's try this, let's do this. And there was nobody sitting there looking at their watch going, you know, we got to do this.
Yeah, especially when you're in somebody's house.
Well, at least it was the artist's house.
Exactly. That helps.
So it was all on his shoulders.
Okay. I did a lot of editing to play some of your fun greatest hits in my mind. And let's start from the beginning. This is 1968. I thought you didn't start this soon, but I guess you're with James then, right? Does that sound right? Carolina in my mind?
No, James would have been 1970.
70, okay.
This one, no, I've done Carolina, but what we did was a greatest hits album, and Carolina was on that. And so I've recorded it, but on the very first one, if it's the one from England that he did in '68, I think that's Paul McCartney playing on it.
Is it really?
I think so. It's a very different approach than what I did for the greatest hits album.
All right. Well, You Got a Friend is 1971. That's you.
That's me.
Okay. Well, let's listen for a little of it, okay?
Okie dokie.
Live version up with
you. When you're down and trouble,
Russ Kunkel on congas.
And you need a helping hand, and nothing's going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name,
James.
And you know wherever I am, I'll come running. Oh yeah, babe, to see you again. Winter, spring, summer,
really quiet on this song.
Now all you got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got a friend.
Okay, so you remember what that was like in the earliest, because that's 71, and just hanging with James and doing his thing. I know he had his own personal issues he was going through.
Yeah.
But apparently, the second he started strumming, it was like, we're good.
No, I mean, it's amazing with guys like that they can have their issues that they're dealing with, where they're kind of it's almost like savant, like where you can have a savant who can't tie their shoes, but they can remember every date in history and things like that. I mean, we would be on the road, and James never missed a chord, never forgot a word. But he, the first tour we did, we had to sit on it because he was just a little too far gone to stand for a show. Two of the things that were amazing about that song to me is, number one, it was written by Carole King.
Yeah, there she is.
And her generosity, because when she played it for James, when we did the Troubadour, she was getting ready to go in and cut it herself for Tapestry. And James said, I just love this song. Would it be okay if I cut it? And she said, oh, absolutely. Where most artists want to save what is one of the best songs they've ever written for their own album release. But she said, no, go ahead. So we went in the studio and cut it.
Nice.
And it became such an iconic piece for both of them.
Yes,
at that point.
It's so unusual too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely unusual. And one of the funniest moments, I think we were playing Boston College, and it was a trio gig, because a lot of the early gigs we did was just James, me, and Russ Kunkel playing drums. And he came out, and we had just learned I don't think we'd even recorded it yet. We just learned You've Got a Friend. And we ran it backstage. And so we go out to play, and the first thing James says to the audience, he goes, This is a new song by Carole King, and I'm gonna blah blah blah, and well, I'd love to play it for you. We just worked it up, and if you hear any mistakes, it's Lee. So okay. The gauntlet is down.
Thanks, James.
Well, we play the song, and basically every bass note's wrong on it. And when it's all done, I'm looking at him, and he's kind of staring at me. And I looked at him. I said, "James, what song did we play before this? Country Road, drop D tuning. Did you remember to tune your E string back up to an E?" And he had forgotten to tune up, so he's playing with his thumb, and every note's a whole step off.
Wow.
You know, and I remember distinctly, he said, "There isn't a spatula big enough to wipe the egg from my face." That was in like 71, I think.
Right. Well, the year before that, this one was released, but I think it came out on an album a couple of years later. It's one of my favorite songs. I don't think most people remember this song as much as I do. I used to play this all the time. I'm sure you remember playing on it. Mexico. I love everything about this song.
Way down here, you need a reason to move. Feel a fool, running your stateside games. Lose your load, leave your mind behind, baby Jane. Oh, Mexico. Sounds so simple, I just got to go. The sun's so hot, I forgot to go home. Guess I'll have to go now. Americana got the sleepy eye, but his body's still shaking like a live wire. Sleepy senorita with the eyes on fire. Oh, Mexico. It sounds so sweet with the sun sinking low. The moon's so bright, like to light up the night. Make everything alright.
So there you go. That's Mexico. And, you know, that was a little ahead of its time, wasn't it?
Yeah. We cut that. That's actually, I think it was either on like Gorilla or In the Pocket.
Yes, I think it was Gorilla.
Yeah, and we cut that at Amigo Studios in North Hollywood.
How appropriate.
on Cumpston.
Oh, okay. I know where that is. Yeah.
And the thing that was fun about that, because we were in one room cutting that, and Van Halen was in the next room working on one of their albums.
Nice.
But we cut Mexico, and that after we finished cutting it, Graham Nash and David Crosby came over to hang out at the studio, and James said, "You want to do background vocals?" And they went out and did the background vocals right on the spot.
I don't remember that at all.
I mean, that's all the stuff that's so magical.
Did they get credit on the album? Do you remember?
They should. I believe they did.
That's great. I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and Lenny Waronker and Russ Titelman produced that album.
Okay.
And I think Lee Hirschberg was the engineer on that one.
Okay.
But just the studio was just a magical place to be. You know, as soon as that door shuts, boy, you are in.
Oh yeah. That's you're in your own cave. Don't get near us, right?
Exactly.
Talk about. I've heard you mention this before about the importance of Peter Asher in your life and in everyone's lives who does whatever you do as a studio guy, right?
Yeah. Peter. So Peter Asher was the half of Peter and Gordon, who had a lot of success in the 60s during the English invasion. And Danny Korchmar made the first connection with Peter. When Peter and Gordon would come over to the United States, they would get set up with a local band to play their show, because they didn't have a band. It was these kind of cavalcade shows.
Right.
And they met, and Danny was in a band. I don't think it was the Flying Machine at that point, with James. I forget the name of the band, but they played some shows with Peter and Gordon. And Danny and Peter became really close friends at that point, and the band broke up, but they stayed in touch. Well, when James was not having any success in the States at that point, this is when he went to England. And Cooch said, look, if you're over in London, call my friend Peter over there. And James did. And as luck would have it, Peter had just become the head of Apple Records, one of their divisions for signing artists.
Good timing again.
Again, perfect timing. And James had a couple of demos that he played for Peter. And Peter said, man, I love your guitar playing. I love your singing. I love your songwriting. Would you like a record deal? And James said, I'd love one. And that was how it all happened. And not even a handshake, just fine. Let's do it.
Wow.
So when they came back to the States, and that's when they did his first James Taylor album. When I got involved, when I started with him, they had just finished recording that. If we had met like a month earlier, I would have probably been on that album too. But everything after that, well, the thing that Peter did, first off, Peter is so musical and he's so smart. I mean, McCartney lived in their house with them for ages because McCartney lusted after Peter's sister, Jane Asher, who was a actress in England.
Remember her well.
Absolutely, just fabulous woman. But one of the things Peter did that nobody had done before, and when I say before, if anybody's familiar with the Wrecking Crew, that was the group of musicians in Los Angeles who from the late 50s up to like 1970 played on everything. I mean, you would listen to a Frank Sinatra record, an Association, a Beach Boys, you name it. And chances are they were the musicians on it, but they never got credit on things. You know, it was a great gig, you know, and you had all these incredible people like Hal Blaine and Tommy Tedesco and there they are in there. And they were remarkable musicians. So, but what Peter did was when we started working, he put our names on the albums.
Yeah.
And so
that was the first time, right?
That was the first time. And so what would happen is with the advent of James becoming like the face of this new music, people would look at James's album and they'd see me and Russ and Cooch and they'd go, well, hell, if these guys are good enough for James Taylor, let's track them down. And the next thing you know, we were working all the time. Nice. And it was really because Peter acknowledged us on the albums. And then, so I've worked with Peter on so many projects over the years.
Excellent.
And Peter's still going strong. He's done a ton of stuff with Hans Zimmer for film work. He managed and produced most of Linda Ronstadt's records. All kinds of projects, and he's just a great guy.
Nice.
And
I remember Peter and Gordon very much when I was back in the, I guess, mid '60s, right?
Yeah,
that was great.
But
if he wasn't a professional, Lee, if he wasn't an actual musician who played, you think it might have been different? Like he appreciated you guys more than if it was just some other executive?
Yeah, I absolutely. Again, another finger on this perfect storm of having a guy like that who comes from music and understands it so well. And he's not like just some kind of a doofus in it. Yeah. I mean, this is a very, very smart, articulate man. And his credentials are so deep in this business. So it's been one of those things with him. So we owe him so much. And the thing I'm grateful of is we still, as soon as we see each other, it's like, I love you, man. And we hug, and it's like the friendships have been going on 60 years. Excellent. And we are still as tight as we were the first day we met.
Outstanding. Yeah. You know, I was going to ask you if you had any influence at all from your family in music, or was this totally you? It's just your thing?
Well, they supported it. I mean, it was kind of one of those funny things. They were very supportive when I was playing piano. Then when I suddenly changed to bass, they're kind of going, well, you're still in music, but do you really want to give up the piano? And then when I got to college and decided I didn't like the music department in college and changed over to science and art, which my aptitude was much higher in those, they're going, you're giving up music for art? And then the next thing you know, I'm selling art and doing all this stuff. And then James comes along and goes, you're giving up art to go back to music. I mean, they were always supportive, but they always kind of just went, and especially during that period, that was a period of most of the people that I was with were in college basically to maintain 2S deferments
Exactly.
from Vietnam, because it was the height of the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
But they were always supportive, and they were
Good.
always excited whenever anything would come along. If I was like on the cover of like a magazine, bass magazine of any kind or something, I would send it off to them. And when I'd go up to see them, it would be sitting on the coffee table and stuff.
Nice.
It was sweet.
Always
It was
good to have that family kinship there,
No, they were great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, my folks are gone now, but they were incredibly supportive of things. They just, always just wanted to say, just as long as you're doing what you like, just be happy with
I
it.
was going to ask you, did your grandparents live long enough to see some of your success?
No, not really.
Always nice,
The only grandparent who survived at that point that had seen a little of it was my mother's mother, the grandmother on that side, Eve. She died. She was, I think, 93 when she passed away. But I think she might have seen like the first couple of years of stuff, whether or not she really understood what it was all about. Because music's such a weird thing. I mean, we can't live without it, but it's one of those things that when people know you're going into the music business, they keep on. Is there a plan B?
Yes,
because
exactly.
the odds are pretty much not in your favor that this is going to be a career for you.
Yeah, that's why parents tell you, hey, we want you to be a lawyer or a doctor because you have a job the next, or hopefully you do anyway, right?
Yeah, but that's really is the case. You're kind of you're living on the fringe of society when you're doing this. Yet try to live a day without any music in it. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, so we both come from similar roots, a couple of generations back, all the way to Ukraine, and your grandfather on your dad's side and my grandfather on my mother's side were both from there. And I'm just wondering, you think we might be a brother from a different grandmother?
Could be. They might have dated. Who knows? It's like I would.
That's my grandpa Izzy right there.
That's great. Izzy. I mean, that's what's really great. Yeah, my grandfather on that side was Benjamin.
Okay.
It was Ben and Betty were that, and it's just, you look back at their lives and what these people went through coming over here, going through Ellis Island, all of that stuff. It's really a remarkable journey that these people
and just try to get out of the country too when there was the revolution and all that.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it was life and death.
Exactly.
To get out of there. I love his tie. That's great.
Yeah, that thing actually would probably be back in style now.
Oh, and you can see that little tie bar kind of clipping in the middle of it. Holy, that's great.
And so, are you sure we're not related here? That's the only time I ever had a beard.
Oh God, that's great. That's really great.
Not quite as long as yours, but I only had it for about 2 months, and everybody kept saying you look like a really bad rabbi, so I just shaved it off.
One of the funniest things was I was with James Taylor. We were touring in Russia back. It must have been in the late 80s, around 87. And the dear Don Grolnick was playing keyboards with us. And we were walking through Moscow, and we turned a corner, and this woman in her babushka and all that stuff walks in and walks right into me, and she goes, "Oi, oi." And for the rest of the tour, Don called me "Oi."
Oh God!
It's like this exclamation, this Russian exclamation.
So when's the last time you actually did not have a beard?
When they handed me my high school diploma in '65.
Literally that week.
Yeah,
you just grew it and you said, "I'm good."
Yeah, because I used to, coming from that Eastern stock, Eastern European. Yeah, that was like my college times there. This is like maybe around 67.
Right. This was a little more mutton chops than a.
Yeah, it was mutton chops, and I had a handlebar mustache.
Got it.
I had it all waxed. And in college, my nickname was people called me Buffalo because I wore a lot of buckskin and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that's my old Echo bass because I worshipped McCartney, but I couldn't afford a Hofner, so this was
nice.
And that's a poster on right behind me of Moby Grape, who were one of my absolute favorite San Francisco bands of that
I know
era.
I saw them somewhere, either late 60s or very early 70s.
Yeah, Bob Mosley was the bass player, and to me, he's
Okay.
still one of my favorite all-time bass players. Who
Nice.
the tragedy with him was he did, I think, so much acid and stuff that he kind of just cooked his brain in it. But when I listened to him, he sang very much like Jack Bruce. He had that powerful voice.
Beautiful.
Played his ass off. I mean, great bass player.
Outstanding.
And
So
I
how
met
did
him
you-
once. I
Oh.
talked about him in an interview,
Oh,
and
good.
he actually contacted me, and we got together and spent a little time together. Which I was
Is he still
really-
around?
No, he passed away a long time
Okay.
ago.
A long time ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you avoid that tough drug scene from the 60s, especially the 60s and 70s, when
Yeah.
almost everybody that was around was doing something? And the reason I wrote my book, I joke, is because I'm the only one who didn't do drugs in the 60s and actually remember it.
That's why we're sitting here talking. 'Cause
Exactly.
we can talk about these things, which is one of the things that terrifies a lot of the people I know, is that
I bet.
I remember everything.
Yeah, they don't want to know you remember.
Yeah, I know where the bodies are buried. It's one of those things that, I've always been kind of a type A, not a control freak, but sort of a control freak. And I never really thought, I found no appealing in cutting loose on it. And I was fortunate for myself, but not for the people that were involved. I was in a band around 1968, and the singer in the band died of a meth overdose.
Wow.
I was playing a gig with Albert Collins at Oates Art Institute, and there was a park across the street. And when we finished our gig, I heard somebody screaming in the park. And when I went in there, it's probably stupid to have done, but I went in and I found a guy on a really bad acid trip. And I sat on a bench with him for 6 hours, holding him until he came down enough where we could get him home and stuff. And I just saw so many times of just the negative side of it. I kind of went, I'm having enough fun playing music and doing this. Why would I, screw this all up?
And
So-
the control thing too, isn't that part? You don't want to lose control.
No.
And that's the way I felt.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely wanted to stay in the moment, in charge of myself. And I was always the designated driver. When we would do gigs, I would make sure everybody got home safe and sound. And
Right.
And there are a few times where I think, it would have been interesting to really try acid and see what that was all about, because everybody I knew was doing these things, but it never touched me close enough where I wanted to go do it.
Right. Timothy Leary never went to your house then, huh?
No, or if he did, I didn't realize it was him. I thought it was maybe the Avon lady or something, because he was having a mind melt. And it's just one of those things that just never appealed to me, but I was never judgmental about the people that did it. The only time it ever would piss me off is like we were getting on a bus, on the road. You get on a bus and you've got like maybe 9-hour drive ahead of you, and one of the guys starts the bus ride going, "I love you, man. Have I told you I love you?" And they're drunk, and I'm going, "Get some gaffer tape. Let's wrap him up, put him in his bunk." And, But for the most part, if anybody wanted to do anything, the only thing that ever would piss me off if they brought it to the stage. Do what you want after the show, day off, do whatever. Don't come on stage drunk or high where you can't play, and
Right.
you're ruining the show for all of us, not only the audience but the rest of the band. That would be the only time I would be judgmental about it.
No, I
and
get
it pretty rarely happened, because all the people I knew would get high, but they were also loved playing, so they wouldn't really do too much to mess it up. Or if you busted them for it, you busted them hard so that they knew, don't do this again.
So what's your favorite memory of the Summer of Love? Because everybody else was not remembering anything. You have anything? That was what, 68, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a magical period. I remember.
Yeah, music, of course.
When I was going to San Fernando Valley State College, and I heard one day, "Oh, there's going to be a concert in the gym," and I go in there and there's Cream playing.
Nice.
I went up to Devonshire Downs, the big fairgrounds above the school, and there's Jimi Hendrix playing. I got to see Jimi Hendrix. And one of my best things for me, like you had touched on at the very beginning, was when the Beatles I was a huge Beatles fan like everybody else. And when they were going to play at the Hollywood Bowl, I wanted to go see them. So I wrote and wanted to buy tickets for the show. And I got a note back that said show sold out. Sorry. But the year before, I had signed up to be an usher if they ever needed ushers. And
I'm going to get, you keep talking. I'm going to get something here.
Okay. So all of a sudden, like right after my rejection letter from them that the show was sold out, I get a notification saying, perfect. That's
it. You were there, right?
I was there. And it was one of those things that they said, we have a special concert coming up and we need extra ushers.
A special.
And so I ended up going, I got paid $5.
Oh, you didn't even know it was the Beatles at the beginning?
No.
Wow.
But the thing that was great was they kept us on for the season. So I got to see the Beach Boys, Ravi Shankar's India Festival, Jimi Hendrix, Vanilla Fudge, Love and Spoonful, all these bands. I mean, it was a remarkable year of music. Oh God, yeah.
Does it get much better than this?
No, it really doesn't. And to me, once again, I'm in fanboy mode there, where it wasn't, like 2 years ago or something. I got to play with Ringo.
That's so awesome.
And you're sitting there just going, it's Ringo. I did a project with Charlie Watts, and you're sitting there spending a week hanging out with Charlie, and you just kind of go, how does this happen? Yeah.
Well, you got to be pretty good. I brought up for my show and tell here. I still have some 45s.
Oh, great.
Isn't that great?
It's so good. God,
Just brings back unbelievable. And the Stones, baby, get off my cloud.
I mean, it is like, that was like the golden age of all of this.
It really was.
I mean, I'm so grateful to still be working, to still be in demand. But I look back at that period and there was something so profoundly magical about that. I remember going to the Hullabaloo down on Sunset Boulevard, which was one of the big clubs down there at the time.
My mentor, Dave Hull, the Hullabalooer.
Absolutely. Dave Hull, one of the best DJs ever.
Here he is with me at his studio.
Now, which one are you?
I'm the guy with the hat, the tall guy.
Okay, I thought
the mannequin.
without the beard, I assume. But I remember going and seeing a show there, and the opening act was the original Sons of Champlin, followed by Sly and the Family Stone, followed by Canned Heat. And you just go, when I was in Wolfgang, the very first gig we ever played. Now, the band Wolfgang got named by. We named it after our manager, who was Bill Graham, but Bill Graham's real name was Wolfgang. Okay. So we named the band after our manager just to suck up that much more. Right. But we had never played a gig. We'd only rehearsed, and the very first gig we ever got was opening for Led Zeppelin at Winterland.
Wow.
I mean, it's like,
how good is that?
Yeah, it's crazy shit when you look back on our lives. And
I love it.
But you just go, this is great. This is just great. And I feel bad because I end up meeting like so many players, during the course of things. Like I was just back at Berkeley doing a couple of days of master classes back at Berkeley in Boston. Yeah. And you get these, young, hungry players that just go, man, I just want to do what you did. And you really don't want to discourage people from this, but I go, but that world doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
So but I remember my wife had an antique shop in one of those big antique malls that had all kinds of shops under one roof.
Sure.
And the woman who had the shop next to hers, she said, I've got a nephew or something. She said in the Midwest, and they're putting a band together. And would you be willing to talk to him and give him some sagely advice or anything like that? And I said, I'd be happy to. So I called him up and I talked to this guy on the phone for like a couple of hours. Well, it turned out it was Peter Buck and they were forming REM.
Nice.
So you just never know. I mean, they're sitting in the middle, when you look at those guys like Dave Matthews and all these people that are, they get their college followings and things build. So, I always tell them, I go, look at, it's Powerball time. And they come out and they say, look, at the odds are 175 million to 1. then when they have the drawing, at some point, there's somebody holding that giant cardboard check.
Why not me, right?
Somebody's going to win. So give it your shot. If you love it, but don't go into it assuming you're going to be successful, because this is an industry based, like so many, on disappointment. And if you give up after a couple of rejections, well, the next person in line who's got a thicker skin is going to step into your place. Yeah. So you just keep at it, and you never know. And it's like at the very beginning of our conversation, if I hadn't been in Wolfgang and Bugs didn't know John and John didn't know James, we wouldn't be sitting here talking.
Who the hell knows what you'd be doing?
You just don't know. So you take advantage of every opportunity that comes on. I say never say no.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you just don't know what it might be a crappy album project or something, but I go, God, this drummer's really great.
Right.
And
suddenly who you meet that day, right?
Yeah, it's all about connections and community.
Who you know, baby.
Yep.
First line of my book, my dad, it's the only thing that's not the truth in my book is the first line. I say, when I was bored, my dad whispered in my ear, "It's all who you know, kid." And he didn't do that, but he told me that the rest of my life.
Well,
you could be the greatest in the world, but if you're the best in your living room, nobody knows.
Yeah. See, that's the whole thing. There's, when I sit there and I look at all these like YouTube videos of people, monsters, players and stuff, but nobody knows them out of their living room.
Exactly.
And unless you get out there in the fields and really start plowing, you're not going to have anything to show for it.
Yeah. Well, we've gone almost an hour. I need about several more hours, but unfortunately, we can't go too long. I usually mix sports and music together. I think you get a kick out of this one because I know you've done your version of soundtracks for film and TV, and the list I have is the A-Team, Magnum PI, what else? Hill Street Blues, Alf, and then there's my favorite song, maybe of all the TV shows ever,
Rockford.
Well, Jim Harbaugh, the coach of the LA Chargers, I interviewed him when he was introduced at his introductory news conference.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him about moving to LA. And here's what he said. And then listen to this.
Oh, this is great. Growing up is the Rockford Files. It's still my favorite show. That was me as a kid. I mean, it's all, driving that Camaro around LA and car chases and, got a... down there by the beach, got the trailer down there to the beach. I mean, I want to Jim Rockford it for the for the next couple months until we move to the new facility. I have that thought going through my head.
This is Jim Rockford. At the tone, leave your name and message. I'll get back to you.
You are full of bullshit, my friend. I will sue you for everything you have. I will sue your ass.
As good as it gets.
Yeah. Tommy Morgan playing harmonica.
Okay. I hear a nice bass line. That's all I hear right now. How great is this for a TV show? Great. Who's playing lead guitar?
I'm trying to remember on this one because we would have different people. Dan Ferguson played on a bunch of the stuff. Tedesco played on some.
Oh, did he? Okay, just outstanding.
Yeah, Larry Carlton played on. I know Larry Carlton is Hill Street Blues with the use of synth guitar. But
now, Mike Post, that's his, right?
It's Mike Post and Pete Carpenter. They were partners, and then Pete was a lot older than Mike, and he eventually passed, and then Mike continued on just as Mike Post, but all these were Post and Carpenter. And again, here's how this all happens. I was in a band in 1967 called Group Therapy, and we were signed to Canterbury Records, and our producer was Mike Post. And it was when Mike Post was doing, he was the musical director for the Andy Williams show, and he had just cut Classical Gas with Mason Williams.
Great song.
And we were friends for like a year when we were doing this band, and then nothing happened with it and everybody moved on. And he was so busy. He was this young stud in town doing all this stuff. And then when I started doing studio work, my name resurfaced and he contacted me, and I ended up doing almost all of his shows.
Beautiful.
So
it's all who you know.
It's all who you know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But does this say everything here, though?
See, I love that. That is such, when I see that T-shirt or any of that, I just go, this is so good. This is just perfect. I love it.
Absolutely. I want to play a couple of more songs before we wrap this up of stuff that you've done in the past. I got to pick out a couple that are my favorites. One of them, I got to bring on Linda, because I mean, I wrote about her in my book, and I saw her on her Silk Purse tour in 1972, I think it was. And that's the one where she had Don Henley and Glenn Frey backing her at the Troubadour. I saw them, and then a few months later, boom, they were in the Eagles.
It's funny. I was doing a session. I think it was a guy named Ron Roberts' album, and Henley was playing drums on it. And we were sitting having lunch, and he looked at me and he goes, "Do you think Eagles is a stupid name for a band?" And I looked at him and I said, "I thought Beatles was a stupid name for a band." I said, "Just make great music." And the next thing you know, the Eagles, not the Eagles. He always hated that. When people say, "Oh, the Eagles," you go, "No, it's Eagles.
It's
There's
Eagles.
Never a the in front of Eagles." It's like,
exactly. And here's a guy that looks familiar to you.
Bernie Ledden.
Yes, and that's Frey too.
Yeah.
And Glenn used to wear, that's Gene Carr. You probably don't know this, but Gene Carr's number 12. He played for the Los Angeles Kings. They become extremely close friends, hanging out together. And I wrote in my book in this chapter how Gene told me he was there when he wrote Tequila Sunrise. They saw the sunrise coming down in his Laurel Canyon house, and it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And Gene said, "I can't drink anymore." But Glenn said, "Hey, Tequila Sunrise." Well, that's a good title for this song. Is that great?
Wow.
Yeah. So some of those stories are in my book. Let's hear from Linda, and I want to get your thoughts on this song that you were a part of.
Look at these eyes. They've never seen what matters. Look at these dreams, so big and so better. I don't know much, but I know I love you. And that may be all I need to know. But I know I love you. That may be all I need to know.
How nice is that song, Lee?
It's just incredible. And I still am in touch with Linda. We talk on a somewhat regular basis.
Aaron Neville, of course.
Yeah, Aaron. And you'd sit there in the studio, because I did a bunch of stuff with Aaron. And you're looking at this big dude with daggers tattooed on his face with that angelic voice. And you're kind of going, what's wrong with this picture? It's amazing. But the two of them, that was a really an unbelievable pairing. And again, that's a Peter Asher production.
Yeah.
But
what was it like working with Linda?
It's so good because...
By the way, I was at this concert here.
Oh, how great. Back in Steve's days with the arrow through his head.
Exactly.
And Cannonball Adderley coming in. I mean, the stuff that went on at the Troubadour was unbelievable. The acts. That's where Elton got launched.
Exactly.
And James and everything. But Linda, she would just, because she's, number one, she's incredibly smart, but incredibly goofy. She's just a funny character. I remember every day she would be knitting. We did a project up at a place called it was either at Skywalker Ranch, Lucas's, or right across the road was a place called the Site. And we worked at both places. But Linda would be working on her stuff. And then one day I come in and I look and she's sitting like this working and I'm going, what's going on? And all this, she looks up and she goes, look, my eyes are killing me. I can't. And I looked at her and I took her off her glass and one of her lenses had fallen out of her glasses, but she didn't know it. Yeah, so she's like this. And we went and found her lens and popped it back in and then she was
Beautiful.
back. I mean, what a total character, but just fun and still the voice of a generation. You know, there's very few that can rival. And also the fact that she's so confident and adventurous in what she does. When she did like the Great American Songbook, when she did Lush Life, everybody was going, don't do that. It's going to be, you're going to lose money.
Everybody kept telling her, don't do this.
Yeah, they said, don't
Spanish
do it.
music. Don't do the Pirates of Penzance. Don't do this, right?
Yeah. Everybody said no. And she said, I'm going to do it. And she did it as good as it could be done. And all were successful. Yeah. You know, so don't mess with Linda. Linda knows.
And truthfully, Lee, in my mind, Linda changed everything in the early 70s because she made it acceptable for a woman to be a lead singer and people craved it after her.
Yeah. She was one of the pioneers, certainly. And certainly with the whole advent of all these artists doing the Great American Songbook, she was really the first one to really bring that to the public's attention, all this great material. And they're sitting in the studio with Frank Sinatra's charts with Nelson Riddle conducting. You know, I mean, this is the real deal. This isn't some B-flat, silly little vanity project. This is the real deal. And plus she had the chops to pull it off. Yeah.
How well did you get to know Linda?
Oh, no, we're very good friends.
Oh, that's awesome. How's she doing?
We've gone. Well, she's dealing as best she can with what
I know she's dealing with it.
Yeah, she's in a wheelchair most of the time now.
So bad.
But when I talk to her on the phone, it's kind of like 90% of the Linda I know. It's just there's a little bit of stuff in her voice now where it's starting to have an effect. But she said she can't really listen to music anymore. She can't hear tonality and stuff. So it's that's fantastic. And then Don McLean coming in.
I saw Don there too. He was phenomenal.
Everybody came through that place. I mean, we played there with the section opening for Etta James and all kinds of crazy.
Did
stuff.
you hang there like a lot of these guys, or you only played there?
It depended what was going on. And I was never like the hang guy because the hang was usually involved with drugs or alcohol.
That's true.
And so I just got bored really quick, you know, like they'd be sitting around just waiting for the connection to show up and stuff. And I'd go, I'm going to go home. I'll see you later. I'll see you tomorrow.
I just love the stories like Glenn would walk next door over to Dan Tana's and then he would write a few more songs on a napkin, you know, that kind of stuff.
I mean, boy, if I had that ability, I would have hung. I was never a writer, you know, so
no, I get it.
That was not part of my equation.
Yeah. So, we're going to have to wrap this up. Let me play one more woman here who doesn't get, I mean, she is so forgotten. I never heard anybody ever mention her in the last 40 years, and I still listen to her music all the time. Tell me how great this one.
And isn't it always love that makes you cry?
Linda's
isn't
great.
It always love that takes the tears away? And you wouldn't have it any other way. Oh, isn't it always love? Isn't it always in your head? And isn't it always love that makes you cry?
Favorite part right here.
But isn't it
Beautiful.
always love that takes the tears away? And you wouldn't have it any other way.
One more. Could this girl write? Carla Bonoff, everybody. Santa Monica girl.
There's somebody waiting alone in the street for someone to walk up
Just you and her
and
playing there on the piano.
Here you are, all alone in the city. Where's the one that you took to your side? Lonely faces will stare through
Anyway, Carla Bonoff,
Carla is
so
just
underrated.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like she was in the shadow of Linda and stuff, but she
Absolutely.
was writing the best songs, and she's still out working all the time. I mean, she still is on the road and still writing and
I
still
would love
amazing.
to see her.
Yeah, she's astounding. And
And
just
she
some
plays
people-
guitar too, right?
Oh yeah, no, she's piano, guitar,
Piano
she's
and guitar. Okay.
brilliant musician.
Yeah.
But and that voice, but it's kind of like, when you sit there. I was just talking about this the other day when I listened to like Livingston Taylor, and
Sure.
he's always like sitting behind James, even
Yeah,
though he's
exactly.
really on a par with James. I mean, in terms of just a slightly different style and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're and like with Linda and Carla,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's like you just go, she should have been as big a star. I mean, it's just one of those things that there's no rhyme or reason for how things work out. And people, but she's, her success as a songwriter certainly set her up for life.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
good for
but
her.
she's a darling, sweet soul. I love
that's nice.
Carla.
I would love to meet her
As
sometime.
good
'cause-
as good a person as you'd want to meet.
Outstanding. I just think that I remember when her first album came out, and it was like she was collaborating with Linda and then Linda did a couple of her songs
Yeah.
and made them hits, which I'm sure she was happy, but she probably said,
Oh.
hey, that's my song too.
Well,
she's
but
not
that's
like
kind of like looking at, Carol letting James cut "You've Got a Friend," and then she
Yeah.
goes ahead
Oh,
and
it's
cuts
true.
it too. The thing that was wonderful about that community at that time was there was an incredible amount of sharing
Yeah.
going on. It wasn't like people coveting their scene, like having David and Graham stop by the studio, and the next thing you know, they're singing on Mexico. It was this thing where there was this hang, and everybody would just get together, and they were playing music and sharing ideas, and I don't really see that happening that much anymore.
Yeah.
Not like it was then. It was another world altogether.
No, and I think it's a mindset that people don't have anymore because it's all about me now.
Yeah.
And you can't just pretend it doesn't exist because that's the way it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at me, I'm on YouTube.
Yeah.
So are you, by the way. Before we leave, I want everybody to know about your YouTube channel and your book, sir.
Oh, okay.
Because, I mean, here you are, out of the blue, the pandemic hits, and I guess you were bored. I mean, I don't know. Was that pretty much what it was?
Well, like all of us,
Yeah.
when COVID hit, I had a date book that was full for the next year that suddenly was
Yeah.
empty.
Exactly.
Now, three things happened for me during COVID. Number one, I had never recorded at home before. I don't have a home studio or anything like that. And when people would want to send me a song to put bass on, I would call friends of mine who had home studios, and I'd say, can I come over and do a bass part over there? And then I'll take you out to lunch and blah. That was our social life. Well, that was over at least for that first year.
Yeah.
And I had some friends in town who put a thing together, and they wanted to cut Easy Lover, Phil Collins, Philip Bailey. And they said, we'd love for you to play on it. And I said, I'd love to, but I can't. I'm not set up for recording. I have no idea. And one of the guys involved in it knew somebody at Solid State Logic. So SSL sent me a 2+ interface, which I've got. I'll give them a little thing here. It's this unit right
look at
here.
that. Okay.
And they sent this to me, and I contacted Steve Postel from our band, The Immediate Family, and he gave me a tutorial over the phone on GarageBand. Because for what I'm doing, I don't need anything better than GarageBand. I'm just doing bass parts, and so I did it, and I sent it off, and I've done probably since COVID hit, probably done about 18 albums from home. For people. In fact, I just did a thing yesterday and sent it off to France, and I'm waiting to hear from the guy. And
Nice.
I've got 3 more albums sitting in my inbox right now that I've got to upload. So that was the first thing. Then the second thing was we had come off of Phil Collins's last tour, his Not Dead Yet tour. And I had some guys start writing to me going, we saw you in Brazil or Germany, and we were playing like a lot of like 80, 90,000 seat stadiums. And they'd say, we saw the show and it sounded great, but we couldn't hear some of the details. So what I did was I contacted Michel Collin, who was our front of house mixer, and I had him send me a couple of board mixes of our show. and I uploaded the one I ended up using for no reason other than that was what was convenient was from Adelaide, Australia. And what I did was I set up right where I am right now. I have my laptop in front of me. I'm talking to you on the laptop, but I have a, here, let me get this. I have this little Bose speaker that sits next to me. And then on the floor, I have a bass amp down here. And this is how high tech I am. This is my, I see all these guys with these really hip studio setups that they've got, for doing their videos and all that.
Right.
And my setup is I have a selfie stick and a C clamp, and I hook the selfie stick to the drawer, and
Beautiful.
I set my camera in that. And what I
It
did
works.
was. And so what I did was I played, I thought, well, I'll play the first song of the show. So I played, and I look at those early videos, and half of it I'm like this talking, or, like over here. I have no fucking idea what I'm doing.
got you.
So I played the first song, but what I did is I played the bass a little bit louder. The track is playing through the speaker, and the bass is coming out of the amp. And I adjusted them so that the bass was a little bit louder so you could hear every note. I did the first song, and then the second day I did the second song of the show. I thought I'll just do this. By the third day, I started getting messages going, "We love your YouTube channel." And I'm going, what are you talking about? I had no idea this was how a YouTube channel could start. And I ended up doing the whole show, a different song, a song every day. I just didn't do the very last song of our show, which was "Take Me Home." And I'm saving that to be my penultimate video for when I finally shut down the channel. That'll be the one I do at the end.
You've done a few thousand of them, though, right?
Well, I'm up to like 2,600 videos, I think, something like that.
Wait a minute, that's how many albums you've done. You're equaling the albums.
So it became really this thing, and as I would try to diversify then. So like when I'm on the road, because I've been touring the past few years really steady with Lyle Lovette, and what I do is every gig we go to, I film the venues, the basements, the attics, all the back. Because when people come to shows. Either there's a lot of venues that people are never going to get to in their lives. They're in another part of the world. Or when they do come, they see the lobby in their seat. That's all they see. So I kind of show them everything, and I meet people that work in there. And so I look for all kinds of content, different things. And I really have so much fun with this all the time. Like I just watched the Oscars the other night.
Right.
And the first award went to Amy Madigan. For Best Supporting Actress. Well, then I dug back to an album but with a band called Jelly, and she was the singer in the band.
Oh, God.
And we did that back in 1977. And so I featured that and talked about her and, having seen her, in TV and then movies and all that after that. But she's a really good singer, too. So,
no idea.
it's funny. And then let me grab this because I've got sitting over here in a pile. I got the book. I'll show you that real quick.
Yes. And I have the picture here that only the middle finger will do. I am so prepared for you, sir.
Oh, you are the best. Well, so,
there it is.
So
okay, hang on.
This book that weighs a ton. And so that thing is the whole thing. But
okay, now who came up with that idea?
Okay, now what happened with this was when we were on Phil Collins's first final farewell tour in 2004, they had hired a bass tech for me on the tour. A guy named Steve Winstead. His nickname is Chinner, and Chinner was so overqualified for my needs. Hi, Paul. And because I think he came off of a tour to ours where the bass player had like 10 basses and wanted new strings every night and all this stuff. So he was like, man, he was rocking. And so when he got there and we met, he said, "So what do you need? What do you need? What do you need?" And I said, "Nothing." I said, "I've never had a tech. I'm just do everything myself." I said, "I guess just have the amp on stage and make sure it turns on. I guess that's enough for me." So we were and we were going to be on the road a year. I mean, so he ended up like becoming like the main gopher for the tour and getting lozenges for the singers and helping with drums and percussion and all this stuff. But every time we'd look at each other, he'd just kind of look at me like, I'm here for you, but so there was talk at the end of the tour, as it was winding down, that Phil was considering retirement at that point. And I thought we had probably 100 crew people on that tour that were from all over the world, Europe, Asia, all over the States. And I thought I may never see any of these people again after this, because the tour is what brings us all together.
Sure.
So I thought I'm just going to take pictures of everybody and tuck it away in a little memory book kind of a thing while I still have a memory. Well, as luck would have it, the first person I go up to is Chinner, and he's sitting working at his laptop. And I go, "Hey, Chinner, give me a smile," and he just goes. So I look at the picture and I go, actually, hold on. If
it's in the book.
It is. It's almost impossible to see here. But
yeah, it's small, but
this little tiny picture, that is the very first finger picture, and
that's great.
It's the whole story.
Yeah, the side of the face one, right?
Yeah. So I went and I got Phil and Tony Smith, his manager. I got all the band, all the crew. We had bus drivers and pilots and caterers out there. And I had about 125 pictures at that point. So I made my little folder and I put it away. Then like 2 years later, I think it was, I did the first tour I did with Toto. And I thought, I'm going to grab these guys too. And I did it. Well, it took on a life of its own at that point.
Really?
I think at this point, I have probably between 13 and 14,000 pictures. Yeah. And I think there's about 6 in the book. There's the Cats. That was the first tour I did with them. That was that was the Falling in Between tour.
Now, what year about would this?
That would have been around 2005, 6, maybe somewhere in there. Because then the next tour I did with them was a few years later, and it was the only similarity was Luke. There, it was all different guys on that tour. So I had all these pictures tucked away. I mean, I would go to the NAMM show and guys would come running up to me going, I went down to the Fermata Music School in Mexico City and I got the whole school. And, I mean, I've got Yo-Yo Ma, I've got all kinds of people in here. But what happened was I was at a friend of mine. There's an artist here in Pasadena named Kenton Nelson, and he's a world famous painter. And he would have these get-togethers every once in a while at his studio. And so he invited me to one, and I started talking to this guy, Richard Tremarchi, who has a company called Art Alliance in South Pasadena. And we got into this long conversation. I told him about the pictures, and he goes, "You should do a book." And all of a sudden, we're going, actually, there is time now since everything's screwed.
Exactly.
And so he helped. I self-published it. It's all on me. This is.
So that was 2021 when it came out.
Yeah, something like that. I deliver every book. I mail them. I sign them. I do everything. I've got my laser printer sitting next to me here for making labels. But so we ended up doing this, and of course I can't do any book signings or anything because it's COVID. Yeah. So, but it's been really a fun journey on this thing. And the thing that's been crazy is, in order to get a decent deal on the book, I had to print 10,000 of these. Wow. And it's a 6-pound book. It's got a thick padded cover.
That's bigger than most coffee tables I know.
I know. Just put some legs on it and you can have it. But so far, I think I'm down now to 1,200 left.
Wow!
Out of the 10. So
I want to trade. I want to trade mine for yours. Remember this guy? We looked at each other's books there for.
Oh, that's great. That's so good.
Picture.
So, but this is. Let me pull out hold on just a sec here. See, I mean, and I took no prisoners. Here's my parents.
Oh, now you're talking.
And then
that is great.
Then when I did the Grammys with them, this is a shot with Merle Haggard, Christopherson, and Willie.
Outstanding.
All together.
Oh, I got to see this book. This is great.
It is.
I haven't flipped off anybody all day, so you're putting me in the mood. Yeah, nice to see you, buddy.
So this is it. And if anybody's interested in it, It's LELANDSKLARsBeard.com. It's all one word, LELANDSKLARsBeard.com. And you know, when you get it, just if you order it signed, just tell me what you want. I'll sign anything. And it's unbelievable with some of the things people ask me to write. It's unbelievable.
That is incredible.
But it's been a real fun. I mean, the thing was,
of course.
you know, when COVID hit, I'm not blasé about it because I had friends that died from COVID. I have friends that are still suffering with long COVID.
Yeah.
But I kind of looked at that as, now what do you do rather than, you know, folding up shop and curling into a fetal position? You kind of go,
Exactly.
we need to do something to stay positive and enthusiastic through a difficult time.
Yeah.
Because it was really interesting. We did, with our band, the Immediate Family, we did a cruise called Rock Legends Cruise. And it was right when COVID was hitting. And we went out of Florida, ended up, I think, in Kingston, Jamaica. But all that we kept hearing about was all these ships that were being kind of sidelined and docked in Asia at that point.
Okay.
And by the time that cruise was over, like the end of that week, it was full blown. You know, they were shutting it. That was the last thing I did before we were shut down.
Yeah.
Then after COVID was over, we got asked to come back and do it. Or the next year we got asked to come back. And Ian Pace from Deep Purple is a friend, and I've been doing some recording for him from remotely. And and they were going to be one of the main headlining acts on the ship. And so I contacted him and I said, we've pulled the plug on doing it. We're just, and he was going, oh man, that's the only reason I wanted to do it was so we could hang out and stuff. Well, it turns out that they went out and did it. And the first day, COVID was running rampant on the ship and they all were isolated in their cabins and couldn't come out. And they never played or anything. So I was I'm glad we made the call not to do it.
Sure.
At that point. But
Of course.
it was so crazy, all the stuff that was going on and the grief through that. So doing the recording and doing the book and doing the YouTube channel, really, the problem that came with this though is everything opened up and we started working again, but I didn't want to give up any of the stuff I was doing to fill my time.
Okay.
So now I'm working twice because I still try to get out at least 4 or 5 videos a week.
Wow.
And I'm still
don't forget to mention the show on your next one.
No, absolutely. We are going to be talking about this. And actually, this will be good here. Hold on just a minute. I am going to.
Yeah. And if you can get your bass out, we might want to end the show on a 30-second, whatever. You can't hear the bass as well, of course, doing what you I got my bongos, baby.
I'll just hold it up here.
Willie Chambers of the Chambers Brothers played Time for me on its way.
Okay, so hold on. Do me a favor here. I'm going to film this, and you do a promo for your show, and I will post that as my next video. So hold on, and I am going to say, let me find the best. Oh, this is perfect, like this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
All right, so I'm Ted Sobel, and the last time I checked, that's Lee Sklar. He's on my show on my Touching Greatness YouTube channel, and I hope you'll watch it because we covered everything, and not enough because we're going to need to do it part 2, but I think you'll love it. Lee, thanks for coming on, bud. Nice seeing you.
How can they reach you? Anything special?
On my YouTube channel or on Instagram at Ted Sobel Sports, because I'm a sports guy who does music. And I've done music my whole life. So a little bit, it's either at Ted Sobel Sports, either on Instagram or on TikTok. Well.
Okay, great. Well, and there's me filming you right there.
Yes, you look very familiar.
I know. I've seen you. Ignore.
I can't see your beard now, so you don't look totally familiar.
This was great. Now, this was a great hang, and absolutely, I would come back anytime. Let's do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about the Beatles and their influence on you. I want to talk about Glenn Campbell. I got and Carole King. I got so many things, and I've got several songs that I don't have time to play because we'd have to be here for 5 hours. So anyway, I appreciate the time, Lee.
Oh, Ted, man, it's an absolute joy, and I look forward to the next time we get together.
Thank you, sir. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed it. LELAND SKLAR, we're talking Hall of Famer now. Late April, he'll be inducted in Nashville. And it's about damn time. Oi. See you, everybody.
Thank you, Ted. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Great.